How can we determine whether the situation we are experiencing is dream or reality? Our thoughts after watching the film Inception again. In 2010, we watched the film Inception for the first time in the cinema. We watched the same film 3 times in a row and have watched it many times since then on various occasions. But only on this rewatch of the film, we seem to have a deeper understanding of director Christopher Nolan's intentions. The story has a considerable level of complexity without being obscure, and the dream stealing operation delves into the 5 layers of dreams, echoing back and forth very satisfactorily. But the gyroscope at the end that doesn't know whether it will stop or not seems to suggest that this so-called success may actually be just a dream. For a movie like Inception, we believe the director has his intentions in designing each character, especially those little people with dialogue. Although they flash by, they may play the role of threading the needles and laying a foreshadowing. The hero cop in the 4th layer of the dream and his wife Mel's dialogue. His wife said Cobb always thought he could distinguish between reality and dreams. In fact, he has been unable to distinguish the division. Who is saying these words to whom? Is Cobb's wife to Cobb said? Certainly not. These words are Cobb's own words to himself. His wife is his own subconscious, his own conversation with his own subconscious, which means that Cobb inwardly admitted that he could not distinguish between dreams and reality. Cobb's subconscious wife repeatedly stresses to Cobb that they will be together forever in their dreams, and that Cobb must complete their agreement to be with her until death. This means that Cobb's heart desires to be with his wife in his dreams all the time. At the end of the conversation between Cobb and his wife, he understands that he and his wife have actually been together for life until old age and death. Cobb says to his wife that it was actually himself who planted doubts about reality in her dreams, which led to her death. And it can be seen that these are Cobb's words to himself because his wife is a projection of his subconscious. When he says that he planted the idea in his wife's dreams and caused her death, his subconscious wife shows an unbelievable expression, which means that Cobb is unwilling to admit deep down that he killed his wife. When he recalled that he and his wife had actually been together in the dreams until they died, his wounded subconscious wife eventually closed her eyes in tears after hearing what he said, and when his subconscious wife died, Cobb was relieved to see that he had forgiven himself. Only the subconscious wife forgives herself to show that he forgives himself. As a whole, this dream is Cobb's own inception of himself, a journey to seek forgiveness. Although from the result, Cobb was stealing dreams to himself, but we think this is not his intention, but an unintentional result. His guilt reminds him that the distinction between reality and dreams is real, and his inability to distinguish reality from dreams is also real. Cobb the character carries too many negative emotions. His subconscious is hoping for relief. So in this seemingly real task, step by step, to the most edge of the subconscious, Cobb wants to be freed, and in the end he is freed. Even if he ends up in the dream and he still wakes up when the time comes, it's not true that he can finally return to his children, but he was at least relieved of his wife, which was also the biggest relief for him, and finally got to see his children. Therefore, he is no longer in a hurry to prove the reality and dreams, and in the end, he does not care whether his spinning top stops or not. Cobb is in the reality from the beginning of his dream as a pharmacist's drug test to the end of the film are Cobb's dreams. Cobb does not distinguish whether he is in the dream. He takes everything in the dream as real. They completed the mission in the dream. The dream appears to be going deeper and deeper into the talkie's dream, but in fact, it's going deeper and deeper into Cobb's subconscious. In the dream, Cobb was giving himself Inception, but in the end, he still did not wake up. Still in the dream, every design of the director's plot leads to an infinite number of logical possibilities. We will never know whether the dream begins. The director finds ways to hide these things so that we are confused by the huge storyline that follows, as if we had a dream whether we don't know where the beginning is. If the director doesn't disclose what he really thinks, no matter how many times we end up watching Inception, we may never know if what we think is the final answer. We now suddenly understand that we are actually reluctant to see the real meaning of the film ourselves, because deep down we are afraid to see ourselves clearly, that we are living in a state where imagination and reality are indistinguishable. Cobb, the main character of the movie, is not sure whether he is in a dream or reality every time he meets his wife and children in the dream world, because he indulged in the beautiful feeling of meeting his wife, and because he caused her to commit suicide because she could not distinguish between dreams and reality. He could not face his own pain, but also did not want to admit the fact that his wife left. He lives in self-blame and can't help himself. Cobb, for the sake of the children, in order to return home, bravely faced his own guilt and self-blame, especially with the help of dream designer Ari Adlin, pushed him to have to face his own problems, and finally he seems to have overcome himself. Back to the lives of children. When we first saw Inception 10 years ago, we were at first particularly interested in the subject matter of the film and found it interesting. But when we saw the young dream maker create the dream for the first time, the space position changed wonderfully. We were very nervous. We now understand the reason. We always force ourselves to obtain our inner security through a definite conceptualization. So anything external, constantly changing, unfixed, or unpredictable future will make us feel fearful and desperate in our subconscious. We cannot forget Cobb's inner monologue, which still weighs heavily on our minds. When old soul returns to a young body, how can he judge whether it is real reality or another dream? Subconsciously, we want to show positive strength to others to infect ourselves and give us courage and strength. When our own defenses are breached by ourselves, we then planted the idea that we could make ourselves joyful, being ourselves. However, this time around, perhaps because we have experienced more precipitation, in short, this willing brought us much more than the superficial thought of being ourselves.